So recently, I moved to Munich, and now I have this big ass living room with just four walls and a lot of echo. And I thought, what if I turn that part of my living room into my own design and YouTube studio? So in this video, I'll show you how we went from this to this.
I wanted this space to support how I actually work, not just look good on camera. So I divided it into 3 zones. A thinking space in the middle, where I can write scripts, read a book, or just relax with a cup of coffee. On the right side, my virtual workspace, my laptop, monitor, mouse, everything I need for digital work. And on the left, my physical workspace, where I can prototype with my tools, sketch on a paper, use a whiteboard, and keep all my books. And in each area, I wanted a camera angle that works for YouTube, so I can film from at least 3 different setups without moving gear every time. But before jumping into materials and furniture, I wanted to set some objectives. First, it should be custom to my needs. I didn't want you to copy somebody else's setup from Pinterest or YouTube. Second, use as much ready-made furniture as possible, because custom making everything will drive up the cost, time, and effort. And the third is sustainability. And I don't just mean with the environmental kind. I mean, it should be maintainable. I saw a lot of desk setups online and in IKEA, and no doubt they all look very clean, minimal, and sophisticated, and I could make them too. But if all of my time and efforts are going into keeping it that way, I don't think it's worth it. So now that we have a direction and some objectives, let's get our hands dirty and start with the virtual workspace in the right side. First thing first, I measured the space. Now, even though it's an attic apartment, the slope here isn't too steep, so I can still use almost all of the space. Plus, I think it makes the room a bit more cozy. The first thing I got was this basic table from IKEA in this wood finish. It was easy to assemble and was ready in no time. Next, I needed a monitor shelf. So I got this add-on from IKEA with these drawers. But I didn't like these drawers because opening them would take away a lot of space from my table. And then I thought, maybe I can just use this top shelf for my monitor and put these drawers under my desk. So I measured the hole position on the shelf and drilled the same holes in the tabletop. But they weren't quite right. The problem was that these sides weren't perpendicular to the table. So I needed to fix them with some 90-degree brackets. But it's Sunday today and everything in Germany is closed. So this is the time to open my new 3D printer. Bamboo Lab sent me this P1S printer to add to my studio. So I quickly set it up and printed these 90-degree brackets. And after screwing them to the table, the drawers finally worked. And now it was time for the shelf. I was calculating what should be the height of my monitor. But then I realized that I'm wasting all this space under the shelf, and I don't have much left for actual desk use. So instead of buying a deep table, what if I mount the shelf on the wall and move the table a bit away? This way, I can use this table for the things where I actually need the space and still have my shelf for the monitor. So I printed these wall brackets and screwed them onto the shelf, and then mounted the whole thing on the wall. So now I have this floating shelf above my table, and I didn't have to buy any expensive deep tabletop. But to make it look normal, I printed these 2 side supports with small holes for anti-slip pads, and they can go on each side of the shelf. And now it's time for the monitor. I already have a laptop with a 4K screen that's color corrected, and I work from the office most of the time anyways. So I just went for a simple HD monitor. The good part about the shelf is I can easily pass all these cables through this cutout. And now it's time to put my old IKEA lamp here. This lamp is with me for almost 4 years. I have moved cities and countries, but never left it behind. So it's a bit special to me. On the other side of the table, I wanted a fixed camera angle. So I mounted this camera arm here, and now I can just press one button to start recording and talk to you. And I think this angle gives a bit of depth in the background, and that's much better than the flat ones. And now it's time for the machine that powers this virtual workspace, my ProArt Studio Book. I've been using this laptop for the last 2 years. It has a highly color accurate screen with 4K and OLED, and my favorite feature, the ASUS dial. I don't use it a lot, but it's just so cool to have it here. Now, I could put it on a stand on the left side and use the monitor as a second screen with the keyboard in the front. But I don't mind using the laptop's keyboard, so usually I place it in the center under the monitor, and that gives me a clean vertical layout. One screen at the bottom and one screen at the top. It also saves me a lot of desk space and reduces the clutter. And I really don't need 2 keyboards on my desk. What I really need is just a good mouse. So here's my old MX Master 3S. Logitech has launched the new MX Master 4 with the haptic feedback, but this one works completely fine. So I don't see any need to upgrade with a new one. And once my tech setup was complete, I wanted to add some accessories. So first, I printed this tray to keep my diary and some pens. Also, you can slide it to access post-it notes. Then a coaster on the right side so I can enjoy my coffee while working. And here's my phone and watch charger with Sharpies inside that I made a few months ago. You can watch the video here if you're interested. And now to put some life into the space, this big plant goes here and this small fake one on the desk. And finally, the desk setup is completed. But wait a minute, we still haven't chosen a chair. So on my recent trip to IKEA, I tried different chairs. I was also looking at online reviews of office chairs, gaming chairs, and the day I was going to order one, out of nowhere, this company, Hbada, sent me the Ergonomic chair to try out. So I quickly unboxed it, and it looked like it had a lot of components to assemble. But one good thing I found is how they labeled and packed the screws separately. And that makes it so easy to just read the manual and then just open the screws which are needed. And maybe IKEA should do that too. And after some tightening and some heavy lifting, the chair was assembled. On the first sit, I really liked this mesh material. It was light, breathable, and made the chair look light, although it's quite heavy overall. And the ergonomics of this chair is on whole another level. Every component can be adjusted. And I'm not talking about just the seat height, which is there in every other chair. I'm talking about small little adjustments, like this neck support, which moves up and down, and also it can change the angle. These armrests, which can move up and down, go sideways, and they even bend from the middle to give extra support while you're using your phone. But my favorite part are these leg supports. You can just extend and rotate to get these soft padded cushions for your legs. And combining this with this reclining feature, you can literally sleep in your chair if you want a break. And these side supports are also adjustable, and they give nice support to your spine while you're lying flat. But of course, it's not a bed or a couch, so you can lie flat for a few minutes, but I would not recommend sleeping in it. And from a design and engineering perspective, everything looks great, but the actual materials are a bit heavy. So it's not that easy to move the chair around. And also, the movement of this component doesn't have that nice haptic feedback. So if Hbada can improve these two things, I think this could be the perfect chair for any kind of setup. And now it's time to move to the physical workspace. So again, I started with the measurements, and this extruded wall gave the perfect dimensions for a table here. So I got the same table from IKEA, and the first thing I put on that is my 3D printer. It fits perfectly under this slope. But there's one problem. These IKEA tables are not that stable. And when a 3D printer is running at full steam, it creates a lot of vibrations and that makes the desk wobble. So I printed these corner ribs for each leg to stabilize it. And with just a quick and fast assembly, now our table is much more stable without any extra weight or spending any extra money. And I think this is where 3D printer comes really handy for normal people. You can make things that you want but couldn't find anywhere, whether it's ribs, brackets or coasters. Instead of going on a research marathon to find the perfect product, you can just design what you want and print it. And if you're not that comfortable in designing something, just go to Makerworld and find anything that fits your need. And I'm really happy to see that more people are making 3D printers a part of their life. And I think Bamboo Lab has done this thing really well. They took a device that looks so mechanical with rails, motors and nozzles and packed it into aluminium and glass with neutral colors and colorful AMS. So even if it's in a living room, it doesn't feel that odd. It just feels like any other device that you have in your house. This is the P1S in this black color and plastic enclosure. But the new and upgraded P2S has an aluminum body, a touchscreen and all the AI features at the same price. So if I had to spend my own money, I would surely go for that. Anyways, right next to the printer, I wanted to create a space where I can sketch, work with my tools, and maybe assemble or disassemble things that I make with a 3D printer. So I decided to first install a pegboard to keep all the tools I need. I measured the hole positions and screwed it onto the wall. Now before organizing tools on this pegboard, I thought let's get it done with all the drilling because I needed a shelf for my books on the top. So I got this floating shelf from IKEA and with some measuring, drilling and installing, it was up. Because since this is a physical workspace, I think the books should be also on this side. So I can just grab a book and move to the thinking area whenever I want. And now that all the drilling and screwing is done, it's time to organize my tools. So for tool holders, I just went to Makerworld and printed some organizers for IKEA's pegboard. And within no time, I had a bunch of different accessories. Then, with some final touches like a cutting mat, 2 whiteboards, and some other things to bring life into the space, my physical workspace was finally complete. Now, a lot of people might not like a running 3D printer in their workspace, but for me, it's like meditation. Because at one point, you just become one with the moving pattern, and it matches the flow of your thoughts. And now that the physical and virtual workspaces are finished, it's time for this thinking workspace. It's like a central brain for both of these worlds. So I started by removing this old carpet and bringing in some freshness and softness with this new one. I really liked the color and the soft fabric of this carpet. And I didn't want it to cover the whole area because the chairs on both sides also need some space to move. So this size of 240 by 200 was perfect. Then I got this lounge chair from IKEA. There's also a new orange color, but I just prefer neutral tones in my environment. It's soft, squishy, and super comfortable. Plus, I can sit cross-legged here, and I really like to have that option in my lounge chair. For the placement, I wanted to keep it under this overhead light from the window. It's great for reading, working, and even shooting videos. And since we're in south of Germany, it's mostly cloudy here, so the light acts like a softbox. It's not that harsh. Then I added some life to this space with this small plant with big leaves. And then I just realized that it needed a little shower. Then a side table to support the chair and a lamp to light up the place. And finally, it's finished. From an empty echoing room to a functional 3-zone studio. A place to think, a place to create digitally, and a place to build physically. Because the space you work in shapes the work you do. It's not about having the perfect setup or the expensive gear. It's about removing the friction between your ideas and bringing them to life. So if you're watching this and thinking that I should do something about my space, just do it. Make that one corner just for you and your ideas. I know these personal videos are very different from my usual product videos, but I make them just for myself, to document the process, to remember why I started. And maybe somewhere along the way, they can help you too. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye-bye.